Hello everyone, this is Christopher Main, programmer for VerticalThird. In this video we're going to explore the quest options available in VerticalThird. Follow along, you can open up the level example game map and head to the character spawn area. In the database folder you will find quests and quest NPCs already created. These are used in the VerticalThird example game and can be used as a starting point instead of starting from new. The example game is also a great point of reference. Let's create a new folder and name it database_new game. We will add our new quests and quest NPCs to this folder. Let's create our first NPC. I'm going to open the database folder and expand characters_NPC. Now I'm going to resize my content browser to make drag and drop easier. I'm going to click and drag on the calorie folder to our new game folder, then click copy. Now open the new game folder and open the new calorie folder. Let's start by renaming our files so they don't get mixed up with the original calorie. In each file I'm going to replace calorie with the name bubbles. Now I'm going to double click on the NPC to open it. You might need to drag the window and resize it. Now I'll drag the NPC data tables to the matching slot. NPC information to NPC information, and quest information to quest setup. We can close this window now. Double click the NPC information data table to open it. Again, here you might need to resize the window. I'm going to change the name to Bubbles, the level to 15, the default message to "Hello, my name is Bubbles," and change the profile icon. We can close this window after. Before we modify the quest setup, we need to create a new quest. Let's start with the defeat quest. Double click the NPC quest setup to open it. Now click the magnifying glass to pop the content browser to the defeat quest. Let's drag this to the calorie folder we copied earlier and click copy. While we're here, let's update this folder name to npc_example_bubbles. As a side note, in Unreal Engine, when you move or rename folders and files, it is important to right click and select Fix Up Redirectors. Now we can rename the defeat quest to Quest Example Defeat Bubbles. Let's expand the options in the date table and drag and drop our quests in both slots. Now we can go over each option. Quest to give is the list of quests that this NPC has available for players. You can set the required level and add other quests to this list that are required to be completed before this quest becomes available. Effectively, this allows quest chains. Quests to end are which quests this NPC will complete and allow the player to turn in their quest. In this example, Bubbles will give a defeat quest, and players will return to Bubbles to turn in that defeat quest. You could, however, exclude this and then add the defeat quest to a different NPC's quest setup. That way the player would have to travel to that NPC to turn it in. Let's delete these pre-required quests for now, and then we can close the window. Let's double click the defeat quest to open it. You might need to resize and reposition the window. Here are a few quick notes about data tables in VerticalThird. Each data table can only be one row in length, and the row must be named new row. If you hover the mouse over options in the data table, there will be tooltips that provide additional information. The NPC icon and start name are used when clicking on the quest in your quest log. The NPC itself may not always be loaded, so we're not always able to rely on reading directly from the NPC information data table. This requires us to make sure the name and profile icon match in each data table. I'll reopen the NPC information and verify this. The start and end soft reference is used to verify the player is targeting the correct NPC when accepting and completing the quest. Let's name both of these to bubbles, and we can drag and drop the bubbles blueprint to both soft reference slots. We can close out of the NPC information. The quest ID needs to be unique for each quest. When completing a quest, it is used to validate which quest the player is trying to turn in. If the player had two quests with the same quest ID, some errors might start occurring. In the description, there is a link to a Google Sheet with the current list of quests in VerticalThird. The difficulty changes the text color in the quest log. This is a visual appearance only. You can set the name of the quest, the description, and the quest end message here. Repeatable will allow the player to repeat the quest. We will check this on so we can continually retest the quest when we click play. I'm going to change this quest name to the Bubbles Defeat Quest, and the quest description to I would like you to defeat the things, and the completion text to thank you for defeating the things. You can set the suggested level here, which will appear in the quest log. Let's set it to 10. You can add items to be given to the player when the quest is accepted here. We'll come back to this for the delivery quest later on in the video. You can reveal additional quest objects that might be hidden in the area. This is mostly used for defend quests and will reveal an object for the player to interact with to start the event. We will leave this empty for now. Now on to quest objectives. The objective type defines what a player must have to do to complete this objective. As a quick overview, here's what you can expect for each objective. Defeat quests require you to defeat an enemy character. Loot quests require you to defeat an enemy and loot the quest item that drops. Escort requires you to follow an NPC and escort them to their destination. There are two types of escort quests which we will review later. Delivery typically gives you a quest item to deliver to a different NPC. Explore objectives require you to travel to a specific area in the world. Defend quests require you to interact with an object and defeat waves of enemies in a set period of time. Interact objectives require you to interact with a specific object in the world. Craft objectives require you to craft a specific item. Gather objectives require you to pick up items found in the world. You can set an icon for the objective and tint the color. The prefix and suffix correlate to the text in the quest log and during quest update messages. This is combined with the current amount the player has completed. The quest log will show the maximum amount, such as defeat 2 mannequins. The quest update message will show the progress, such as 1 out of 2 mannequins. Finally, we have the actual value for this objective. VerticalThird uses data table references to track quest and scoreboard updates. We will create a new value for this shortly. You can set the quest rewards in the next section, such as the experience amount, the reward choices, which can have a maximum of 3, and the reward extras, which can have a maximum of 2. The player will be able to choose one reward from choices and receive all rewards in the extra slots. Here I search for loot, food, mushroom, and loot, food, egg for the reward choices. Then I add loot, wood, T1 for the extras. The next section are categories I've created for advanced users to expand the quest system. This will be reviewed in a separate video. The sections that already have an expansion are escort and defend. As mentioned earlier, there are two types of escort quests in the VerticalThird. Walk to and defend, where the escort NPC will walk to a destination. The player will have to follow them to keep them alive. The other is spawn and follow, where an NPC will follow the player character. The player will have to walk to the destination described in the quest. The action spawn escort data table is the spawn information for the escort NPC. The defend section lets you design the waves of enemies the player will need to defeat. We will come back to this later. The last section is for system use and can be ignored. By default, complete should always be unchecked. Now we will create a quest for each type. Let's start with the defeat objective. Note that you can actually have more than one objective in each quest. To stay organized, let's create a new folder. Let's call it Defeat. Let's move our defeat quest into the folder. Now we'll have to right click on our new game folder and click Fix Up Redirectors. Now we can click into the folder. Now we will copy some of the files we need for an enemy. Click on the VerticalThird folder and search Melee T00 Blueprint. Let's drag and drop this character to our defeat folder. Now click Copy. Clear our search text and search for Actor Spawn T00 Melee. We will drag and drop this to our folder and click Copy. Clear our search text again, this time searching for T00 Value. Once again, drag this to our folder and click Copy. We can now clear our search text and click on our folder. I'm going to rename the blueprint Character, AI, Enemy, Bubbles. I'm going to rename the value as Value, AI, Enemy, Bubbles. And finally, the action, Actor Spawn, AI, Bubbles. Now we need to make a few edits. Open the character blueprint. You might need to resize it. In the top search bar, search for a value. This is where we're going to drag and drop our new value, and we can delete the extra value that's in the list. Then we can close this window. Now we can open the Action, Actor Spawn, AI, Bubbles data table. The action system is detailed in a different video in the description. What we want to do is keep clicking down the arrows until we get to the Actor Spawn section. This is where we can drag and drop our new blueprint actor into the correct spot. Verify that the name is updated with Bubbles. We can now close this window. Now we can drag our new value to the defeat quest objective. Now we're going to resize our folder. We're going to fly over to a spawner, noted by one of the green cylinders, and hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. Once complete, we're going to move it over to the starting area, closer to our spawn point. Let's slide our data table for our quest over, so we can see the details of the spawner. We're going to expand the actors to spawn data tables and the indexes. Let's delete the ones we don't need. Finally, for the data table reference, let's look up actor spawn bubbles and click to add it. We can slide our quest data table back over. Let's click on the three dots by the play button. We want to make sure that new editor window is checked. Then click Advanced Settings. Verify that Always on Top is checked. Then we can close this window. I realize our spawner is a little bit too close from when we start, so I'm going to move it back a little bit. Now I'm going to slide our quest data table to the left, and make sure we have a spawn time of 3 seconds, with 0 variance. Then we can move our data table back over. Now we can click play. You might need to resize or reposition your window. You can use middle mouse click or Windows key to release the mouse. I start off by getting a cheat weapon, just to make it a little faster. I open the inventory with I, and right click each weapon to equip it. As I run to the NPC, you can see the quest symbol. This means there's a new quest available. When I interact with F, you can see that our quest is here with all the correct data. Our new enemy rudely interrupts us, so let's take him out. Notice the quest symbol is now blue. This means we have a quest in progress. You can also notice the quest update messages that appear at the top. Now the quest symbol is turned green, showcasing that the quest is complete. We can choose what we want to accept and complete the quest. Note that all the items I chose were crafting items, and they appear in the crafting inventory. There's also a quest inventory and a loot inventory. Because we checked repeatable, we can actually repeat this quest. This concludes the defeat quest. We can click stop. We can now close out the defeat quest. Now we're going to create some of the items we need for the loot quest. Let's drag our folder back up. Let's go back to our NPC folder and create a new folder called Loot. Now we're going to copy the defeat quest we just created and copy it over to the new folder. Let's delete the defeat label and change it to loot. Let's go back to our NPC folder. Let's open up quest setup. Now we can add the new quest, just like last time. I'm searching for the new quest we created, called Loot Bubbles. We can close this window after. Now let's go to our loot folder, and let's modify the quest. I'm going to increase the quest ID by 1, then change the name, description, and end text. I'll change the type to loot, and I'll modify the objective text. This time requiring to pick up 5 items. First thing we need to do is create a new loot table. Click on the VerticalThird folder and search loot table T00. Let's copy this to our loot folder. Now we're going to create a new loot item. Search item gem 000. Let's copy this and bring it to the loot folder. Now we can click on our loot folder and clear the search text. We're going to reuse our previous enemy for this quest. Let's update the loot table for this character. Double click the character and then we can drag it out and resize it. You need to click the Open Full Blueprint Editor text at the top. This might make us have to resize it again. I'm going to resize the window so we can see the component list. Scroll all the way down until we find the loot component. Click on the loot component. Now we can drag and drop our new loot table over to the correct slot. At this point I realize we haven't renamed our files, so we can go ahead and do that now. This will make sure the correct files are in place. We can close this character blueprint now. Now I'm going to rename this gem as well. Now let's open up the loot table. Note that loot tables have a separate video that goes into detail in the description. Click the trash can to delete everything, then add the plus sign. We're going to click the plus sign to add to the list. This is where we can drag and drop our new item to the slot. We're going to set the type to quest, and the drop chance to 1, which is 100%. We can close this window now. Now we need to modify the item we created. Double-click the item and drag it out. There is a separate video in the description regarding loot. We need to scroll down to the quest section. We're going to change the required quest to our new loot bubbles quest. We can close this window after. Now we can drag the loot item to the objective in the quest window. Now we can click play following the same process as last time. I'm going to grab the cheat weapons, hit my inventory with I, and equip them with right click. I'll accept the loot quest, then defeat the AI 5 times. Each time it drops a piece of loot. You can see the quest updates with the messages at the top. I'm then able to turn the quest in, as expected. This completes the loot quest setup. We can click stop. Now we will create 2 quests at the same time. These are the escort quests. As mentioned before, there are 2 types of escort quests: spawn and follow, and walk and defend. We're going to create a folder for both of them. Then we're going to click into our loot folder and copy the quest that we just created. Drag and drop the quest into each folder and click copy. Let's go ahead and edit the names of these and put in escort _ spawn and follow and escort _ walk and defend. Now we are going to create a second NPC. This will be used to demonstrate how you can start a quest with one NPC and have it end at a different NPC. I'm going to name this NPC Bottle. Very creative, I know. I need to create the folder and then copy the files from the previous NPC over to it. Now I'm going to repeat the NPC setup process. I'm going to speed through it, but it's the same thing as it was before earlier in the video. I'm going to rename each file with Bottle. I'm going to open up the character blueprint and drag and drop these files into the correct slots. I'm going to open up the NPC information and change some of the data. Finally, I'll open up the quest setup. I'm going to clear all the quests in there. In the quest to end section, I'm going to add in the escort spawn and follow and escort walk and defend from bubbles. You can close all these windows out after. Now we can drag out Bottle over to the right. I'm going to rotate him and move him around. We can close out of this data table. Let's click on the spawn and follow folder. We can double click to open the file. I'm repeating the same process as before. This time the end NPC is going to be Bottle. I type in the name and then search for Bottle in the reference field. I increase the quest ID again and then make some adjustments to the quest name, description, and end text. I change the type to escort and then adjust the prefix and suffix and set the max to 1. We need to create a few more files before we can add it to the objective. Here I scroll up to the top and click on VerticalThird. I search for escort spawn and follow blueprint. I take the first one and drag it into my spawn and follow folder and click copy. I go back up to the VerticalThird folder. I want to delete blueprint and add in actor spawn. Once again, I'm going to choose the first one and drag it into our spawn and follow folder. I'm going to change the name in these files to Bubbles. Now I'm going to open up the actor spawn. This is part of the action system, which is included in a different video in the description. I'm going to right click on the new row and click collapse all. Then follow through the bottom, clicking the arrows until I get to actor spawn. Here, I can drag my character blueprint into the correct slot. I can close this file after. Now I need to create a new value for this character. I'm going to copy the one in the defeat folder. Drag and drop it and click copy. I'm going to rename it with escort spawn and follow bubbles. Now I'll open up the character blueprint search for a value in the top bar, and add this to the correct spot. We can close this window out now. Now we can drag this value to the objective in the quest. Now I'm going to scroll down and set the escort type to spawn and follow, and drag the action actor escort spawn and follow to the correct spot. We can close this window out now. I'm going to go back to the NPC Bubbles directory and open up the quest setup. Only in the quest to give section, I'm going to add the spawn and follow Bubbles quest. We can close out this window after. Now I'm going to click on the VerticalThird folder and search escort and spawn and follow. I'll grab the first one, copy it to my folder, and then rename it with Bubbles. Let's open the spawn and follow quest again. I'm going to drag this new item and bring it into the objective reference. Now we're going to fly over to this giant sphere right around the corner of the mountains. Select it by clicking the wireframe, then duplicate it with Ctrl D. We will slide it back over to Bottle. We're going to change the sphere radius down to 500. I'll reposition it once more. For the data table loot information, we're going to drag and drop our escort end item into the slot. We will click on the arrow to drop down the target actor values. This is where we'll slide in our actor value. Now we can hit play. We can walk off the bubbles and accept the spawn and follow quest. You'll notice that our escort AI will spawn behind us. They will then immediately start following us. We can walk over to our other NPC called Bottle, and once it gets in range of the sphere, it will complete the quest. We can turn it in at Bottle. This completes the escort spawn and follow quest setup. We can click stop now. Now let's create our files for the walk and defend quest. I'm going to click on the VerticalThird folder and search escort walk and defend blueprint. I'll choose the first one and copy it to my walk and defend folder. Then I'll delete blueprint and change it to actor spawn. I'll copy this to the walk and defend folder as well. Now I'll click on the spawn and follow folder and clear our search text. I'm going to copy the item escort end and drag it over to walk and defend folder. I'll also copy the AI value and drag it over to the walk and defend folder. Click copy. Now I'm going to make sure everything has the name walk and defend bubbles. I'm going to make many similar changes like last time. Opening up the character blueprint, searching for a value, and adding the walk and defend value into place. Opening the action actor spawn, scrolling down, and drag and dropping the blueprint character into place. Now I'm going to modify all the quest details. Let's make sure we increase the quest ID. By the objective, I'm making sure it's set to escort, and then copying the item data table to the correct reference. Verify the escort settings are walk and defend, and dragging in our data table. Let's click on our NPC Bubbles folder. Open up the quest setup. In the quest start section, we're going to add this quest. Walk and defend, Bubbles, quest. Now I'm going to click on the escort end sphere from the previous quest. We're going to duplicate this and slide it to the right. Now click on the walk and defend folder. We're going to drop in our values. The walk and defend item and the AI value. Now I'm going to copy this green spawner. Click on the patrol path, then Ctrl D to duplicate. I'm going to line up the cylinder directly around Bubbles. Then I'm going to click the blue diamonds and change the path. This is the path that the NPC is going to walk. Make sure the final point goes inside the escort end sphere. Finally, drag our action actor spawn, Bubbles, walk and defend, over to the correct spot. We can now click play and go get our quest. Once we select our quest, the AI will spawn behind us. They will start walking in their patrol path. Once they get close to the escort end, the quest will complete. We can go ahead and turn it in. If you wanted to add a challenge, you would take some AI spawners and place them in the path. Once we complete the quest, we can close out. This completes the walk and defend escort quest for VerticalThird. Let's click back on our Bubbles folder and create a new folder. This one called Delivery. Now click on the VerticalThird folder and search Delivery. We can drag and drop this to our delivery folder. Now I'm going to search Candy 000. We'll copy this to our folder as well. We can clear our search text and rename these to Bubbles. I'm going to modify our quest data again, making sure the quest start NPC is Bubbles and the quest end NPC is Bottle. Increase the quest ID again and change some of the quest information. I'm going to drag and drop the candy into the items to give section. Then drag and drop it again to the objective reference. Now I'm going to open up Bubbles quest setup and add it to quest to give. Then I'll repeat this process for Bottle, but add it to the quest to end. Now we can click play, accept the quest, and deliver it to Bottle. Notice that the quest item we set up has been given to us automatically. The quest will complete as expected, then we can close the window. This completes the setup for the delivery quest. I'm going to click back to the Bubbles directory. Make a new folder called Explore. I'm going to open the delivery folder and copy this quest to the Explore folder. Now click on the VerticalThird folder and search for Explore 000. Let's copy this file to our Explore folder. Let's clear the search text. Let's rename these with Explore Bubbles. Just like last time, I'm modifying the quest details, making sure that the quest start NPC is Bubbles, quest end is Bottle, increasing the quest ID, and then changing some of the data. Making sure the quest type is set to Explore, and finally, drag and drop the Explore item to the objective reference. Once again, I'm going to add this to quest to give for Bubbles and quest to end for Bottle. Finally, I'm going to grab a loot spawner, which is noted by the yellow cylinder. This one marked by the teal beam has already been set up to be an Explore item. We're going to drag it over and place it right by Bottle. Once in place, we're going to drag and drop our item Explore into the data table slot. We can now click play. We can accept the Explore quest. Walk over to Bottle, and you'll see it completes the quest. We can turn it in as expected, and then close this window. This concludes the setup for the Explore quest. Let's click on the Bubbles folder. Create a new folder for Defend. I'm going to click on the VerticalThird folder and search for Defend Quest. I'm going to copy both the item and the quest itself to the Defend folder. We can clear our search text from here. Let's rename both of these to include Bubbles. As usual, I'm adding some of the quest data. I'm going to set the start and end NPC to Bubbles. Changing the quest ID and some of the text. Note that under additional actors to show, we're going to add our item. For the objective reference, we're going to add our item again. Finally, we can expand the options under Defend. In the Defend waves, you can see several entries. And then at the bottom, you can see the wave duration. In this setup, the first wave will be 15 seconds long and have one enemy, and the second wave will be 30 seconds long and have two enemies. If all NPCs are not defeated in time, you will not complete the quest. The last thing to do is grab the Defend Quest spawner. This is a little item around the corner to the left that's already set up. Let's click on the wireframe, duplicate it with Ctrl D, and drag it over to bottle. We can reposition it, and these blue diamonds are where the AI will spawn. You can click on them in the world to move them around. Now we'll drag our quest information and item information into the slots on the details panel. I'm going back to the bubbles folder, open the quest setup, and add this quest to start and end. We need to open up the defend quest item. Scroll down to the quest section and drag and drop our quest into the quest visibility section. Now we can click play. Note for testing, I'm going to go over and grab the cheat weapon and shield. I'm going to hit I for the profile window and right click to equip each. Now go over and accept the quest. Once the quest is accepted, if you look to the right, the item is now visible to us. When we walk over to it and hit F to interact, this will start the event. Once I defeat the enemies, the quest is completed, and I receive an update. Then I can go back and turn the quest in. This completes the setup for the defend quest. Back to the bubbles folder, we're going to create another folder. This time it's going to be called Interact. Let's click on the Explore folder and copy this quest over to Interact. Now click on the VerticalThird folder and search Rock 000. Copy this to our Interact folder. Now we can rename these files to make sure they include Interact Bubbles. Here, I start editing the data table. I'm going to make sure the quest start and end is set to bubbles. Change the quest ID and change up the text. Set our type to interact, change some of the data, then drag and drop our item rock over to the objective reference. We can close this out now. In the rock settings, we need to scroll down to the quest section and drag and drop our quest into the quest visibility section. Now click on our spawner we previously created, hit Ctrl D to copy, and slide it over. I'm going to add our interact item over to the spawn reference. Now I'll add the interact quest to the quest setup information for bubbles in the start and end section. Now we can click play. Once we accept the quest, the rock will appear for us. We can walk over to the rock and interact with it. Note that interact items do not go to an inventory. Now we can turn the quest in. This completes the setup for the interact quest. We can close this window now. Back to the bubbles folder, and we'll create a new folder called craft. We will copy the explore quest, just like before. Drag it to the craft folder, click copy. Click on the VerticalThird folder and search recipe mushroom. We can go ahead and copy this to our craft folder. Let's click on our craft folder and clear the search text. Now we can rename these and make sure they say craft bubbles. Now we can open up the craft quest. We want to set the start and end quest NPC to bubbles. Change the quest ID and some of the quest text. Set the quest type to craft. Drag the recipe over and put it onto the quest objective. We can open up the recipe and let's just change the name. We can close this window after. Now we need to add this recipe to the recipe book. Click on the VerticalThird folder and search Recipe Book Cooking. Double click to open it. Let's add an entry. We'll search for recipe craft bubbles. We can close this out now. Now we need to make a spawner for both of our ingredients. I'm going to click on the spawner we've already created. Click Ctrl D and then drag it out. For the spawn reference, I'm going to look up loot, food, mushroom. Let's duplicate the spawner again, this time adding in loot, food, flower. Now I'm going to go back to the bubbles folder and open up the quest setup. Once again, I'll add the crafting quest to the give quest and the end quest. Now we can click play and we can go and accept the quest. We can head over to our loot spawners and begin looting our ingredients. In this case we need 2 flour and 5 mushrooms. You can open up the profile window with I, then click the crafting tab. With the drop down menu at the top, we can switch it to cooking. You'll be able to see the recipe from there. Once we have all the ingredients, we can click Craft. Then we're able to complete the quest and turn it in. This completes the setup for the crafting quest. You can hit stop now. Now we're going back to the Bubbles folder, this time creating a folder for Gather. I'm going to copy the Explore quest again into the Gather folder. Then click on the VerticalThird folder and search for Cone 000. Let's drag and drop this into our Gather folder. We can clear the search text and rename these. Make sure they have a combination of Gather and Bubbles. First, we'll open up the cone item and drag the quest into the quest visibility slot. Now open up the quest and edit the details as usual. The start and end NPC should be Bubbles. We'll modify the quest ID, change some of the text, and set the type to Gather. Modify a few more settings. We can drag our cone item into the objective slot. We can close out of the window, and we'll duplicate our spawner once more. We will drag over our cone item into the spawner slot. And finally, go back to the Bubbles quest setup and add it to the give and end quests. Now we can click play. Once we accept the quest, we'll be able to see the item. You can proceed to loot it 5 times to complete the quest. Once we turn in the quest, all of the quest items are removed from your inventory. This concludes the setup for the Gather quest. Finally, you can have multiple objectives in the quest and can mix and match types however you wish. As a reminder, there are full separate videos for the loot system, action system, crafting system, and loot table system in the video description. For more in-depth information, please check out those videos. This concludes our exploration for the VerticalThird quest system. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us through one of our social media channels or on our Discord server.